What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Monday? Man, you guys are hot and fiery, spicy this morning in the YouTube waiting room. Over 100 comments as we're waiting to get going here, but going to have a big Monday show. Titans had a preseason game number 2 on Saturday night at Nissan Stadium. Sam, you were in attendance reporting there for A to Z Sports, and the Titans get another win, 16-15 over the Seahawks, so 2-0 in the preseason under Brian Callahan. But that's not going to be the main focus of today's show because the result on the scoreboard really doesn't matter, but it's about what happens within the lines on the field. And I've got, Sam, 6 position battles that I think are all but locked up after that preseason game. And we're going to go through all 6 of them. We're going to have some tangent topics to go with it. And then we've got the age game to wrap up the show. So are you guys going to agree or disagree on me thinking that these particular 6 battles are all but locked up? You know, I'm not saying they are like 100% locked up. All but locked up is the word here. So there's still room for some wiggle between these battles. And but I feel pretty confident about what I have here. Then we'll talk about maybe what position battle is not even close to being locked up. Here too, it's the age game on Monday. I do have an updated age game graphic with a lot of new winners and repeat winners on the graphic. Not my name though. So we're trying to see if I can get my name on the age game graphic here today. So Sam, welcome in. Hope you had a good weekend. Let's get this thing off and rolling.
Hey, let's go ahead and do it here. Like you said, preseason action to react to a little bit. And then, the 53-man roster going to be really the talk of the town throughout the next week here as the Tennessee Titans get ready to make their final roster cuts and get ready for the 2024 season. So a lot to talk about and an interesting conversation with these position battles today. So before we get into it, everybody out there has to share the show. Take that YouTube link, send it to a group chat, a Titans fan in your life, share that. And if you're watching on Facebook, hit the share button in the bottom right corner. That's the best way to support us this morning and make sure everybody knows, hey, A to Z Sports having a good Titans conversation and get somebody else introduced to the A to Z Sports family. Share the show before we go. Like the show here on a Monday morning, and let's do it.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter for A to Z Sports.com. And we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Also, segment by segment tweets on our X Twitter timeline. That's at A to Z Sports. And follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans and do that by saving money and getting better coverage. Get a quote with our link today, fbhp.com/ATOZ. So, Sam, I said the Titans are 2-0 in the preseason. Maybe you could argue they're 3-0, or at least they were 2-0 on Saturday, because before the game, NFL insider Jeffrey Simmons reports that Arden Key will not be suspended and won his appeal for his PED suspension. So that was a big deal that happened early Saturday afternoon. And then Saturday night, the unlikely hero, the flu game from the undrafted rookie kicker, Braden Narvison, hits a couple field goals to ice the game in the second half. 59 yards, the second longest field goal in Nissan Stadium /LP Field /Adelphia Coliseum history. And then you got the game winner from 46. So kind of break down the overall game for us real quick before we dive into my 6 position battles that feel all but locked up after that game.
Yeah, well, first of all, you are absolutely right. Big win for the Titans before the game even started with Arden Key's news. That seemed to be, the thing that had all of the Titans buzzing pregame, that had everybody a little bit excited. I talked to a few Titans coaches on their way into the building at Nissan Stadium, and everybody seemed to be pretty fired up to get Arden back and know that they've got depth coming at a position of need, edge rusher. So that was a great way to start the day. You know, the game, kind of a snooze for some of the game. I mean, no starters, but then just not a ton of exceptional play from a lot of the Titans, both offensively and defensively. I think it really took until late in the second half for a couple of guys to really stand out. You ended up having Malik Willis, I thought looked a lot better in the second half. Mason Rudolph comes in and has the late drives down the field, sets up that Braden Narvison field goal, and then the other one, another one with a game winner, getting players like Jaquan Jackson, David Martin Robinson involved. Chance Campbell seemed to have another very good game and led the team in tackles for the second straight week here in the preseason. So it was certainly a less lively and less eventful preseason game without a lot of the Titans starters, but I also think it told us a lot about the rotations, maybe a little bit more than that first game did. Austin, I think when you see, hey, who's not playing and who is playing, some of that stuff was very telling about where these guys fit in the whole hierarchy of this roster.
Yeah.
And then you got to see who was out there for 4 quarters versus who was out there for, just a few snaps.
And who was never out there. Like I in a way, I agree, it was a very boring preseason game outside of a couple moments, but I feel like we learned a ton.
Yeah, we definitely learned a lot, for
which
sure.
is crazy to think that in a game that was a lot of nothing burger, learning a lot about the roster, which I feel like, I don't know if, I feel like I might get duped because you never know as much as you think you might know when it comes to what the roster is going to look like. But I did want to get to a comment real quick before I get to these position battles. Brian says Arden Key is mid, but needed. I mean, Arden Key is nowhere near like Pro Bowl level edge rusher. Like, I think you can question the fact if Arden Key is a quality 3-down starter as an edge rusher, but he is absolutely needed. And Brian is right about that part, is because you don't have a ton behind Arden Key that has experience. And so it is a big deal, a big win to have Arden Key not be suspended as far as Jeffrey Simmons goes. And Teron Davenport, for what it's worth, I do think that this is important because whenever a player breaks news about the NFL, I do think it's very important that somebody follows it up to confirm. And Teron Davenport and ESPN able to confirm with a league source. So let's dive into my 6 position battles that I think are all but locked up. And so we're going to go rapid fire through these. And Sam, you're blind. You know what one of them is. You know what one of these 6 is, but you don't know the other 5. And we're going to save that last one, or the 6th one that you know, for the end. So 6 position battles that I think are all but locked up. We will start with what I think is the most obvious one. But first, all of our Titans training camp coverage this summer has been brought to you by Smoky Mountain Tops. If you're thinking about updating your kitchen or bath countertops, call the pros at Smoky Mountain Tops, family owned and operated for over 30 years in both Nashville and in Knoxville. With those studios, you can see their work in Bridgestone Arena and Neyland Stadium. Smoky Mountain Tops is proud to offer the luxurious handstone Opimio quartz collection in both of those studios I mentioned, Nashville and Knoxville. Handstone quartz is known for their exceptional quality and design, with over 50 colors and unique patterns to draw your inspiration from. So call Smoky Mountain Tops to schedule an appointment to see the beautiful handstone Opimio quartz. Their phone number 615-922-6539. You can also email Christy. Her number or email is right there on the screen. Tell them you heard about them on A to Z Sports and check them out at SmokyMountainTops.com. So Sam, the first of 6 Titans position battles that I think is all but locked up. I'm going to start with what I think is the most clear, because of something I just said a few minutes ago. Who played and who didn't play. Andrew Rupchich played. Dylan Radins did not play. Dylan Radins is the Titans' right guard. That position battle, all but locked up. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, all but locked up. Brian Callahan basically said as much, in his press conference yesterday afternoon, talking about the right side of the offensive line and, reserved the right to change his mind should something drastic change. But at this point in camp, I don't foresee something drastic changing. I do definitely believe that Dylan Radins will be the Titans starting right guard week 1, and that he has earned that spot over the last few weeks of training camp.
Yeah, I think he's been solid. I like what I saw from him in the one-on-one drills against the Seattle defense that has a lot of good, talented, big players. Like I think Peter Skoronski was probably the most consistent Titans lineman in those drills. But I think Dylan Radin's having a draw of Jaron Reed, the former Alabama D lineman. I thought he looked very overall very positive from that standpoint. And I do think it's interesting that we talked about the O-line having some issues early on in camp where I was sitting here going like, I don't even know if they can accomplish much of anything because the O-line can't stop anybody. That was before NPF showed up, and that was when Sadiq Charles was the right guard. I think the run game has gotten better over the last couple of weeks too with Dylan Radins in there. So I think Dylan Radins has an opportunity. Is he ever going to live up to the second round pick at 50 something? Probably not. But I do think he has an opportunity to be a very good contributor on this team now that he has a direction of being the Titans' right guard. So I'm glad you agree.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know if that's fully fair, and I do defend Dylan Radins a lot in that regard.
Yeah.
What year is it now for Dylan? Year
This is
4?
This is a contract.
I mean, we're year 4, and he's managed to be a solid contributor in most of the years that he has been here without being when he's been healthy. And I mean, if you get a guy that starts on your offensive line into year 4 now in the second round, I don't know if that's not living up to expectations. I think if Titans fans placed expectations on Dylan Radins that he was an answer at left tackle or the future at left tackle after Taylor Lewan when he was drafted in the second round, that's on them, right? That's not on Dylan Radins. You start in the NFL for 4 or 5 years, as a second round pick.
But I also think that's also you have to think like, yes, has Dylan Radins started a bunch of games as a second round pick in his rookie contract? Yes, but he was also on the worst offensive line in the NFL for the second and the third year of his career. Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm sure there's some NBA player who's getting a lot of minutes and putting up points because he's playing minutes, but who's not very good because he's playing for a terrible team, right? I think it's a little bit of that too. Is he a bad player? No. Is there a lot of extra context to go around his situation because he's played 4 different positions? No, right. And he's had injuries? Then yeah.
It's all about expectations. And that is where the vibe around Dylan Radins, the way that Titans fans often talk about Dylan Radins, the way Titans media talks about Dylan Radins, you'd think this guy was drafted in the top 15 of the NFL draft. There's this feeling around him failed first round pick Dylan Radins that potentially has a chance to play guard. I mean,
he was 53rd overall though.
He sets the back half of the second round. If you get a contributor in that spot, that's a win. There are a whole list of guys that have done a lot less in their career than Dylan Radins drafted in front of him. I think that's a little bit wild to have these steep expectations on the 53rd overall pick.
All right. So, you've had some, AJ Brown was 51st overall. You can again, it was a bad draft selection. It doesn't mean Dylan Radins is a bad player or won't be able to make up for it as the Titans right guard this season. All right. My second position battle that I think is all but wrapped up. So I started with the easiest one in Dylan Radins because Dylan Radins did not dress out, one of 38 guys that did not dress, and Andrew Upshish did. So that tells me that. This next one is the one that I thought shined the most on Saturday night. And Sam, I think Jalen Harrell is the third best edge player on this team. I think Jalen Harrell has locked up a position battle over some of the other edge guys. He is a lock on the roster. I think he's the third edge. We're not necessarily arguing him versus Rashad Weaver here, but I think Jalen Harrell has won a position battle on this team as a 7th round pick rookie.
Yeah,
2 sacks on Saturday.
That much I can agree with. I don't know necessarily about the rotation at outside linebacker and where he falls in the hierarchy at edge, but I know he's on this team, and I know he's in the top 4. Brian Callahan referred to him after the game as a solid rotational piece. And when you have a solid rotational piece with some upside as a 7th round pick, that guy is going to make your roster. So it certainly looks like the Titans did well for themselves in the 7th round to get a contributor in Jalen Harrell. And he has looked really, really good in some of these preseason games. His camp, Jalen Harrell flashed to me, Austin, at my first practice that I went to this summer. I came and went to my very first practice, and one of my takeaway notes was Jalen Harrell was all over the place.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had a couple people looking at me a little sideways, being like, "You noticed Jalen Harrell today?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude was in the backfield a whole lot." And it feels like as the weeks have started to go on, like more and more people start to be like, "Oh yeah, Jalen Harrell is good," and the Titans coaches have confirmed as much. So he'll be on this team. And I mean, I think that really the sky is the limit. I think as the year goes on, Jalen Harrell potentially only able to earn more opportunity for himself on this defense.
Yeah, here's the head coach, Brian Callahan, on the 7th-round rookie, Jalen Harrell out of Michigan.
By how quickly Jalen Harrell has come along, and maybe what's the next step for somebody like him to contribute early?
Yeah, surprised? No, I'm not surprised. He comes from he played in a similar style defense, and he's been coached. He came from a blue blood program. Those guys tend to show up. They play in big games. They played in winning programs. They know what it takes. So we've seen all that. And then he plays a physical brand of football in college, and it turns out he plays a physical brand of football here. He's been really, really good in the run. I think he's developing as a rusher. He's shown up. He's got production on the quarterback, but he's learning how to rush the NFL way, which I think is he's going to improve rapidly in that way too. But he's risen. I mean, he is as a 7th-round pick that nobody thought much of to being probably a pretty strong rotational player for us. It's been good to see.
That is a coach talking about a guy that's making his football team at the at the very least, right?
Yeah,
a guy who has looked like a strong rotational piece for us. He's going to be involved in this defense. That one is locked up. Awesome.
Yeah. So Corey says Harrell's a diamond in the rough. I agree. I think they got an absolute steal. I mean, you're talking about a guy who led the national champion, undefeated Michigan Wolverines in sacks, who fell to the 7th round, maybe because he didn't necessarily have all the traits out there or the measurables. But he's got the play, he's got the experience, and I think he's just going to get better. Omar says, really like Harrell, looked good in the game, definitely a player. And then Gene says, I like Harrell. He'll be a starter by the end of the season. And I don't know about that, but I again, this is me, not you. And this isn't the argument that we are going to have today. I like Jalen Harrell more than Rashad Weaver. Maybe it's because I have Rashad Weaver fatigue, because I know he has not been able to set the edge to this point in his career. He doesn't get sacks consistently. I just think Rashad Weaver loses a lot of the leverage games because he is so tall and long. And I think Jalen Harrell can be more consistent. So I think maybe not, if it's not right now, I think by season's end, Jalen Harrell's potential has the ability to be their 3rd edge rusher behind Harold Landry and behind Arden Key. I would already go with Jalen Harrell over Rashad Weaver just because of what he's learning how to rush is what Brian Callahan just said. He does set the edge. Rashad Weaver doesn't set the edge and hasn't really to this point, and his rushing has been inconsistent at best. The best thing Rashad Weaver does is bat the ball down at the line of scrimmage because he's 6'6".
Yeah, I mean, I would probably go there. I mean, I would say for sure, I think you're correct in saying Harrell by end of year, edge 3 for this team, and rotational piece who I do think will get defensive snaps for the Titans this year. And, not a lot of 7th-round picks get offensive and defensive snaps as a rookie and yet to play a significant role on teams with a lot of veterans on it. So a good sign for the Titans, and, hopefully Harrell able to develop even more as he works with Ben Bloom and Tracy Rocker and develops his game as a young buck still.
Yeah, Bryce says, for once, me and Austin agree. I mean, I think that says a lot about you, Bryce. Right there. All right, so going through my rapid fire, 6 position battles that I think are all but locked up. I think Dylan Radins is your starting right guard. I think Jalen Harrell is absolutely locked up as a position battle on this, or position roster spot on this team. I think he's our edge 3. The next one, I think this is also a slam dunk, Sam. I think Jaquan Jackson is wide receiver 6. Now, there's a whole nother conversation about do they keep 7? And that's something that I think we're going to have an isolated show about because of how a 7th roster spot at wide receiver impacts a 4th tight end or whatever else develops from there. But I think Jaquan Jackson is a dude. I think Jalen Harrell is a dude. I think you're talking about a 7th and a 6th round pick that the Titans should feel very confident in from this draft. Jaquan Jackson can play. I don't know how many offensive snaps he's going to get, but he's absolutely going to be active on every game he's healthy for because he can return kicks and he's fast and can do gadget type things on offense. He's on this team as wide receiver 6.
Yeah, I don't think Jaquan Jackson is going to have a huge offensive impact this year. I think, but I do believe he has shown enough offensive prowess in training camp in the preseason games to prove to the Titans coaching staff that he is just as capable of developing that part of his game as some of the other options competing in camp right now. Jaquan is a true slot, kind of different from the Mason Kinsey, Kearis Jackson roster types that are competing but can play multiple wide receiver positions. But ultimately, it's just what can he do with the ball in his hands? And that is why the Titans drafted him. And that's what he has shown the ability to do. And anytime a player is drafted for one specific reason, right? This coach, this GM drafted Jaquan Jackson because of his ability with the ball in his hands. In camp and in preseason games, Jaquan Jackson has shown that he's dangerous with the ball in his hands. I would assume the Titans see value in that. I think he's on this team. I think he's used a lot in the return game. Offensively, probably not a ton. We'll see maybe as the year goes along and if injuries require Jaquan to step up. But at least at the start of the year, I think he has a roster spot and is involved.
Yeah, and what do you make of – because it seems like Brian Callahan is super specific when it comes to the positions these guys are playing, right? Like we learned that the reason why NWI was out there taking body shots in the preseason game for the whole first half and Traylon Burks was wearing a ball cap is because they play different positions and D-Hop's hurt. We'll talk about D-Hop here in a second. D-Hop's currently hurt. And so Burks is his backup. So because of that, he's a starter. So he sits, but NWI is out there because he's not a starter because he's backing up Ridley, right? So, and then Jaquan Jackson, both tight ends are different positions. I do think that's very different than what we're used to, right? We're used to like, oh, every receiver needs to know how to play all 3 spots, and that doesn't impact the roster as much as it seems like it might here.
No, yeah, I definitely think it matters more with this coaching staff, whether it's, wide receiver, like you said, or even linebackers, right? Like with the reason that we saw Otis Reese step up and play some with the first team defense over Chance Campbell was not because I think Otis Reese is viewed as being above Chance Campbell. It's because the Titans have knocked off like 3 different linebackers in Garrett Wallow and JoJo Doman and then Kenneth Murray, who sat out, that all play Kenneth Murray's position. Yeah. And so now Otis Reese is sitting there as the other guy behind Kenneth Murray that's able to play the same position as him. And the Titans have been very position specific at a lot of these, both offense and defensive roles. And so that will, to me, affect how they make their roster choices. I mean, we can have probably a conversation about this later on, like you said, but I saw a comment in the chat saying, well, if they keep 7, who's the 7th? I'll tell you who it's not for me. And it's not Kyle Phillips. Yeah. Because I think Kyle Phillips cannot play X. Kyle Phillips cannot play Z. Mason Kinsey can play X and can play Z. And I do think the Titans probably see more value in a Kinsey than they do in a Phillips for that reason. And Austin, that probably is reflected in just training camp opportunities and the guys that we've seen take reps with the 1s in training camp, or at the very least reps with the 2s. Yeah. So I don't think it's Kyle Phillips. I think if there's a 7th receiver, it's a question between Mason Kinsey, Kearis Jackson. Save that for a different show. But yeah. No doubt. The positional value and what specific position a guy plays absolutely matters to Brian Callahan more than it did to Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so 3 more position battles to go through rapid fire style. We've gone through half of them. We'll get to the second half here in a second. 2 offensive battles that I think are all but locked up, and 1 more on the defensive side. But first, new partnership, right? We talked about it on Friday for the first time. If you missed it, A to Z Sports is proud to partner with the DeAndre Hopkins Youth Football Camp. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for your child to train on the Titans field with a future Hall of Fame wide receiver. It's September 1st at Nissan Stadium, so make sure you can get your tickets to this. And I'm about to paste the link in the chat here because it's just like $108 after taxes and fees. But if you use our code ATOZ20, that's ATOZ20 at checkout, that is 20% off of your camp fees. So that knocks it down at a solid $20 right there. So a great value under $90, around $80 to get a Hall of Famer camp for your son or daughter ages 9 to 15. Rashid says he's 15 years old. So look, there you go, Rashid, you can do that. So check them out right there. I dropped the link in the chat. DeAndre Hopkins Football Camp. We've got more information to keep on coming, but a great value. So check out DeAndre Hopkins Youth Football Camp at Nissan Stadium, September 1st. It's a Sunday. It's right after college football games. It's right there on the holiday weekend. You should take advantage of this right there. DeAndre Hopkins Youth Football Camp. Code ATOZ20 for 20% off. Okay, Sam. So let's get to the other three position battles that I have here on my list that I think are all but locked up. We do need everybody to like the show. Hit the like button. You got a nice audience here on a Monday morning. We're getting closer and closer to cut down day, which means we're just like 2 weeks away, maybe 3 weeks away from reacting to week 1 at Chicago. So my next position battle, you mentioned him, Chance Campbell. I think Chance Campbell is the next inside linebacker behind Jack Gibbons. 2 preseason performances, led the team in tackles both times, 8 tackles apiece, had the interception in the game, had a sack the first game. He also, I think he had a chance to get a pick, but it went through his hands as a PBU Saturday night against the Seahawks. It would have been a really impressive catch.
It was like a tipped ball that
it was a bad throw
deflection. Yeah.
Right. So, but he got his hands on it and you could tell his reaction. He wanted that back to catch it. But I think Chance Campbell has locked up the backup inside backer spot behind Jack Gibbons. And, I think now that Campbell's locked that up, does Chance Campbell push Jack Gibbons? When would he start to push that? Because Cedric Gray's on the sideline.
Yeah, I mean, Chance Campbell is on this team. I've been saying for a week and a half now, I think Chance Campbell's inside linebacker 3 to me, and I feel pretty confident about that. So no qualms with that claim for me, Austin. And, potentially down the road, maybe we have that conversation of, is it time to get Chance Campbell a look as a starter?
Yeah, we'll figure out when that's going to be. So, again, that's rapid fire. Not a ton to go into that one. But King VC does drop his super chat in here. Lock in, like the show. Kick it to the King. I see your super chat. We will get to that after I get through my 6 position battles here, because you got a good one. Another maybe position battle that we've been overlooking in a super chat. So my next position battle, Sam, is running back 3. I think it's Julius Chestnut. Now, that's my opinion, and we're going to dive into this. I want you to hear Brian Callahan before we dive deeper, but here's Brian Callahan when asked about running back 3. Julius Chestnut has been a very good runner. He's caught passes out of the backfield in the first 2 preseason games. Here's the head coach on his running back 3 battle.
Yeah, I think it's still a competition. I think Julius has played well for himself. He's put himself out there. Played well overall, done all the things we asked the running back to do. So he got the first carries, and then I think Jabari Smalls played really well too. And so we got some competition there, and I think that those guys have played probably a little bit better than Hassan at this point. And obviously Hassan is a special teams demon, and that matters too. So that competition is ongoing. We got another week to go.
I think, real quick, so I think Brian Callahan confirmed something I tweeted mid-game, is that Hassan Haskins is the 5th best runner on the Titans roster. That was obvious, right? Chestnut's a better runner. Jabari Small is a better runner, rookie out of Tennessee. It's the question for this is, what is the net difference of Chestnut as a running back and special teamers and Hassan Haskins as a special teamer and then running back? Like, who wins the net battle? For me right now, I think it's Julius Chestnut, because I don't know if Hassan Haskins, like how much better of a special teamer does Hassan Haskins have to be to make up how much better Chestnut is as a runner and pass catcher, right? Like it can't be that much of a big jump. I don't know. Maybe you
I
feel
mean,
differently.
the thing that you have to keep in mind here is usage,
Yes.
and how important it is to keep a good runner when you don't really anticipate that runner getting on the field all that much because of Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard and how interchangeable they are. The fact that your backup running back is essentially a starting running back, I think really limits the amount of times I think we will hardly ever see our third running back on the field on offense. And I do not believe that this is done, and I would give the edge to Hassan Haskins.
Really?
I think Hassan Haskins was the clear and obvious favorite before Saturday's game. Julius Chestnut narrowed that gap a little bit, and I still think Haskins is ahead. Um, I think there are just a handful, and this is a conversation that I've had with Brian Callahan a couple times over the last few weeks. There's a handful of positions on a 53-man roster that have to be reserved for special teams.
Right.
And running back 3 is one of those positions. It really doesn't matter what a running back 3's offensive output is if he's not getting on the field. Like, you need him to be able to contribute in some way. If that guy is a much more consistent special teamer, he has much more of a consistent every week impact than, maybe Julius Chestnut is a better ball carrier than Hassan Haskins. But if he's getting 1 or 2 carries a game maximum, I'm not sure there's enough value there in order to make your decision based off of that.
I don't even know if it's carries. I think it's offensive snaps. Like
I don't think there's going to be a ton of offensive snaps for the RB3.
Well, I'll just say this. I think if Hassan Haskins ends up winning the RB3 job, and I would be wrong in this, then I think Hassan Haskins gets, I think the over-under you set every game for offensive snaps is a half. Like, I think he does not play any offensive snaps.
I think he gets in on short yardage and potentially.
I disagree. I think Hassan Haskins is still not quick enough to the line of scrimmage to be a good short yardage runner in the NFL. And so that's right.
I think Hassan Haskins is like, neither Hassan Haskins or Julius Chestnut is a better runner than either of the 2 guys you've got ahead of them.
That's my point, I think. But
why would you play Julius Chestnut then? Like, why would you put in Julius Chestnut on a 3rd and 1 if you can play Tony Pollard or Tajay Spears? You don't.
And that's it. It's more about like what happens if one of those guys has a tweak, right? Like running backs, especially how Tony and Tajay play, like they're going to be in a bunch of piles, a bunch of traffic, and it's so easy to have one little twist of something go weird and the guy's on the sideline, and now you got the other one, and then a guy you don't want out there playing running back, and it's on Haskins. Because you already know that he's not as good of a runner as Jabari Small and as Julius Chestnut. And so I think Hassan Haskins gets 0 snaps on offense if he makes the team. 0. It's
close to 0. It might be a handful, but it's not many. I agree with you, but I don't think it's many for Julius Chestnut either. I think I would set it at under 5 per game for Julius Chestnut offensive snaps, even if he is the RB3. I just think there's a couple positions that need to be reserved for your special teamers. And it really is about it. It's less of this Mike Vrabel approach of like, well, special teams is what matters at the end of the day. And is more about trying to find the balance between how much a guy who sets himself apart on special teams is more impactful than a guy who might be the better offensive player, but you don't anticipate being used on offense all that much.
Yeah.
So like I said, I do think Julius Chestnut did himself a lot of favors and is separating himself as a runner, which is now making this a really tight battle. Whereas Hassan, to me, was the RB3 before this weekend. I'm not ready to say that this is locked up by any means. Fair. I think it's wide open still.
So I think the hardest thing with special teams is it's a lot of times a special teamer being good isn't tangible. Like it's hard, and with Hassan Haskins, I think that's really
for a fan. maybe.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. For a fan and for for
I mean,
people,
a coach who's watching their tape and stuff.
I'm talking about
knows.
for people watching the game on TV. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard for a special teamer to be tangibly good, unless it's Luke Gifford making a tackle or a gunner making a play or a returner making a play. If you're not making a tackle or a return on special teams, there's nothing there for the television eye to see. And Hassan Haskins, I don't know, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember Hassan Haskins making a tangible play to the naked eye on TV, where if you watch tape, maybe Colt Anderson would say, see, Hassan made this play because he took his job, did this, and he rushed down there and occupied 2 blockers and then allowed Luke Gifford to make the tackle, right? Like, that's what the film does, but we don't see that on TV copy. And so I think that's the harder thing to know is tangibly how much better is Hassan Haskins on special teams to earn the coin special teams demon that Brian Callahan said.
Yeah, during this preseason, I'm not sure I've seen Hassan make any like big tackles or big plays on special teams. Like you said, you don't know what the film shows.
Yeah.
I do remember in the past, Hassan Haskins was a special teams demon as a
rookie year
in the league. I mean, he was
2 years ago.
Yeah, he was all over the place. I mean, he was popping dudes on kicks, blocking for kicks, returning kicks, kind of doing a little bit of everything. It's a big reason why I think the Titans liked him in the draft to begin with was, a potential reserve running back, can handle a workload behind Derrick Henry that also could contribute on special teams pretty consistently. So it's going to be an interesting call for Brian Callahan and the guys. And I'm curious to talk with Titans assistant coaches tomorrow, and specifically running backs coach Randy Jordan about, just how different this battle is than maybe it was when I talked to him 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Right. All right. So you disagree with me on that one. So you agree with me on the first 4, right? Is that Radens is your right guard.
Yep.
Jalen Harrell's won a position battle to make the team. Jaquan Jackson's your wide receiver 6. Chance Campbell is a linebacker 3, inside linebacker 3. So those are the 4 you agree with. You disagree with Chestnut at running back 3. So I think one that we both agree with, this is the one that you knew about here, and that is that Mason Rudolph is quarterback 2 on this team. I think it's always been that way. As much as Brian Callahan has said it's a battle and they're competing for the second spot, I think there's really been one practice that the media has been out there for where Malik Willis got second team reps, and that was Thursday's joint practice right before they had the game where Malik Willis started. So they gave Malik the starting opportunity, which I think was good. I think it was a good chance for Malik to do this. But, Sam, you agree, there was never a battle between Mason Rudolph and Malik Willis as much as the head coach said it was. So lock it up. Mason Rudolph, backup quarterback for the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, Mason Rudolph was paid to come here for a reason because he was viewed as the QB2. And, Malik was given what I believe was a fair shot to change the status quo and to get in, turn some heads. I think early on in training camp, he did that. He was very impressive. Had a couple of people, looking and saying, does Malik need to be quarterback 2? Like, do we need to get Malik in with the second team here? And credit to the Titans coaches for being flexible enough to give Malik some of those opportunities, give him a fair look to assess the situation. I don't believe he has done enough to change the plan of the offseason, which was to bring Mason Rudolph in to be your backup. I think Mason Rudolph comes in with a history of winning in the NFL, and you can make whatever argument you want about his performance versus his team. It matters when you've got a guy who's been able to win games as a starting quarterback and prove that, hey, if your starter goes down, Mason Rudolph is capable of managing a team and making the good decisions that you need to win a football game. We have not seen that from Malik Willis. And Austin, just track record alone, like pull up Mason Rudolph's resume real quick. But I mean, reminder, Malik Willis does not have a passing touchdown in the NFL. He does not have a single passing touchdown. I think he has 1 rushing touchdown.
In the regular season, yeah.
In the regular season, right?
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph's stats in 13 career starts, 3,085 yards, 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He's 8-4-1 as a starter. Is it amazing? No. Is it serviceable? Absolutely.
And how many starts?
13 starts, over 3,000 yards.
Yeah, I mean, that's if you add another 4 games on that to make it a full 17-game season, that's a season you want Will Levis to have this year.
Yeah, I mean, like 19
approaching
touchdowns.
4,000, north of 20 touchdowns, hopefully 11 or so interceptions.
I mean, 11 picks is a bit for 13 starts, but you know that is certainly manageable and winnable. Like you can hang with that. And so the QB2 thing was kind of never really a huge debate as much as it was an opportunity for Malik to change it. But now the question then becomes, and this has kind of been what a lot of people have been feeling over the last week or so, is can Malik do enough to earn a roster spot as QB3? It's been less about Mason versus Malik and Malik versus himself. Maybe Malik versus Julius Chestnut, Malik versus David Martin Robinson, Malik tight end 4, running back
wide
4,
receiver
7.
Yeah.
Right. Does Malik do enough to earn a roster spot over an additional piece at one of these other groups?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, let's ask that. So we want the chat in that, because I think that is the question. Do you think Malik Willis has done enough for the Titans to keep him on the roster as QB3? Do you think Malik Willis has done enough? This is a yes or no. Yes means you think he should be quarterback 3 on the 53-man roster. No means he's cut, maybe on the practice squad, maybe not. But yes or no, has Malik Willis done enough to earn the QB3 53-man roster spot? Real quick, I'll tell you what. Farm Bureau Health Plans has done a lot to deserve the opportunity to take over your health coverage, because in 78 years of serving Tennesseans, Farm Bureau Health Plans has been able to consistently lower your rates for better coverage. Whether it's health, dental, and vision, don't pay out of pocket to go to the dentist or for your contacts anymore. Make sure those are a part of your coverage with Farm Bureau Health Plans. They've been doing this for quite some time. They've got an office and a location in just about every corner of the state, over 200 across the state of Tennessee. So they've got something in your backyard to make it efficient for you. They've also got a really easy thing that you can do, and that's just DM me on Twitter, Austin Stanley 81. If you DM me on Twitter, I will give you the direct email contact to have a shortcut to Farm Bureau Health Plans. 2 people have done it so far this month. I'm ready for a 3rd or 4th or 5th. Bring it on. I've got the email ready to go for you to make it easy on you. If not, you go check them out for yourself and get a quote today using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, and the sportsbook born in Vegas. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM. Get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. Whatever your first bet wager amount is, it goes back into your account in the form of a bonus bet if your bet misses, so you get a second chance to win big. That's the best way to do sports betting with the sportsbook born in Vegas, BetMGM, and BetMGM.com.
All right, so has Malik Willis done enough to earn a quarterback 3 spot on the Titans 53-man roster? Sam, I'll send you to the chat here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Make sure you hit the like button, please. Nice show today. I can feel the season right around the corner. 3 weeks from right now, we're going to be reacting to win or loss, 1-0 or 0-1. How about that? Spice it up. So hit that like button here on Facebook and on YouTube. Yeah, 3 weeks from this hour, right?
How about it?
All right. So, Sam, yes or no from the chat? Has Malik done enough to make the 53 as QB3?
No from Darren. Justin says, I think Malik makes it. No from Willie. Yes from Curtis. No from Steven. Yes from Laron. No from Chris. No from Eric. Yes from Kevin. No from Rico, DeMarco, and Ben. No from Gene and William. A yes from John. A yes from Justin. A no from Corey and Alex. Major Keys says yes. Pistol Ramsey says yes. Patrick Bird says yes. No from Jay. No from Titans Kyle. We've got a no from Nick and Bryce and Darius and J-Rome. We've got a yes from Deborah. We've got a no from Jody. A yes from Toga. A no from Richie. Pretty back and forth here, Austin. It's been really, really even. Yuri is on yes. Patricia is on yes. Guy says no. And Todd says no. Eric Alonso says hell yeah. Roger says no. Hell nah. From Reynald here. Nope from Kenneth. And a yep from Yogi. So pretty dang close to 50-50 in the chat. Yes, no. Austin, would you like to go first? Would you like me to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
the phrasing of the question is everything. Has Malik Willis shown enough or done enough for the Titans to keep him on the 53 as QB3?
No, you're trying to get cute with phrasing. The question is he going to be on the 53? Yes or no?
That's not what we asked him.
That's what we should be asking.
Okay, then I will answer it that way then, just to cut the cuteness if you want me to. My answer is flipped, Sam. I am at a no. I was probably at a yes yesterday, to be honest.
Okay.
Because I think Malik Willis has had a very solid camp relative to Malik Willis. Like a good camp relative to Malik Willis. Honestly, here's something too. I think the progression and development that Malik Willis has shown working with Brian Callahan and his staff for 5 months should make you more confident in Brian Callahan and his staff working with Will Levis or insert quarterback here, because Malik has made progression. Malik is better. Malik got a raw job Saturday night. 2 3rd and 7s turned into 3rd and 12s, bad offensive line play, a holding turning a 1st and 10 into a 1st and 20. The interception was an inaccurate throw high over the middle. You don't miss high over the middle because that turns into interceptions. That's a bad play for Malik. Malik made some plays with his legs, but couldn't get rid of the football at times. He's not perfect. He's not quarterback 2. He's quarterback 3. But no, I don't think he should make the 53-man roster. And it's not because I don't like Malik or I don't think he's gotten better. I think it's because the Titans have some pretty good guys that they should keep over Malik Willis at QB3.
So
because
would you have said yes if you were going off of the has he shown enough?
Yes.
Type of thing? Okay.
Like, I think, but I would rather keep if it came down to it, like, and maybe this is something that we'll do later in the week, because next Tuesday, maybe we'll do it a week from today. Malik Willis versus roster bubble guy. Would you want to keep roster bubble guy A or Malik Willis as quarterback 3? And I think there's probably 4 guys that I would name right now off the top of my head that I would say that's a really good conversation because of what they're going to do. Because Malik Willis is going to be inactive on game day if he's the 53-man quarterback, because that's how the emergency quarterback rule works. So I think he's improved and he's shown some promise to continue to keep around. But I don't think he should make the team over some of these other roster bubble guys that might have a game day job doing other things. And here's the other caveat to this, and Brian Callahan brought this up a little bit in the press conference yesterday.
I pulled up that quote. I think I know.
Is anybody going to sign Malik Willis to the 53-man roster if the Titans cut him?
Yeah, so here's the quote from Brian Callahan, because he says, you need to see what live reps look like. And I think what happens at the cut down a lot of times, I've been part of this enough years that you look at your own players and you think, oh man, somebody will claim them. But then you realize that everybody else has those players on their roster too that they feel about. A lot of the times when you think that someone's going to get claimed by another team, you've got to remind them they're going to be claimed to an active roster. Mm-hmm. So they're making a 53 with a player that hasn't been there for the last 6 months. Not that it's impossible, but most of the time it usually ends up the other way where everyone's trying to keep their own players.
Yep. So
in order for Malik Willis to get claimed, he would have to be placed on another team's 53-man roster.
So I just saw in the chat 3 teams mentioned by chat members of who would claim it. Andrew says the Raiders would. Why? No, they wouldn't. Like, nope. Why would the Raiders claim it? Like, you got Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. Both
are better than Malik Willis.
Yes, right. So no. Jeffrey says the Vikings pick him up. No, why would the Vikings do that too? And then
any of those teams are far more likely to sign Ryan Tannehill than they are to claim Malik Willis.
You took the words right out of my mouth. And the Eagles would probably make it work, but they don't have any reason to do that either. Like, why would the Eagles do that? That would be a waste. And so, like, I don't think there's anybody that's going to claim Malik Willis on waivers. So I think you cut him. You put him on the practice squad after he clears
on the practice squad.
And there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think, and that ultimately for me is why my answer is also no. Malik Willis is not on this 53-man roster because, the guys who get claimed and go to other 53-man rosters are guys that, one, have a lot of NFL experience in games so that teams are confident they can come in and contribute, and two, play a role that makes them a game day contributor worth keeping on a roster. Like, I think, for example, Trey Avery is much more likely to get claimed on waivers by another team than Malik Willis, than David Martin Robinson, than any of these guys that you're talking about maybe holding on to, right? Trey Avery, you can say he's bad all you want. You can say he struggled. He's played a lot of meaningful NFL snaps over the last 2 years. And on a team that has maybe a thinner DB room than the Titans, he can be your or your cornerback 5, potentially rotate in and be a special teams guy immediately. Yeah. And there is a reason for a team to potentially claim Trey Avery. DMR maybe is your project tight end. Every team has a project tight end, right? Every team has their own guy. Every team maybe has a project quarterback that they're thinking about looking at. And Malik has not shown enough to me, or really, in my opinion, to any team around the league to make them think, yes, this is a guy I'm comfortable being my backup right now and potentially needing to take snaps for me. I just don't know if he's done that. And so for that reason, why keep him on the 53-man roster? You send him to the practice squad, and I'm pretty confident he doesn't get claimed.
Yep, same. And then you see, what about Baltimore? I think he would fit there with Jackson. I mean, I think conceptually that would make sense. But they have Josh Johnson, who's been in the league for 25 years and played for 24 teams.
Yeah, I mean,
who's got
maybe Baltimore, right? Maybe Baltimore. But again, it comes just because Josh Johnson's older, right? And maybe you want to go for some more youth sitting behind Lamar.
But to me, that happens in the offseason. Because the Titans cut Malik Willis to put him on the practice squad here in his 3rd year of his 4-year contract. Now they signed him to a practice squad. That 4-year rookie contract's done. It's null and void. So now he is a free agent or whatever at the end of the season. If the Titans don't bring him back to be in camp next year, now the Ravens could go bring him in to see what he could do in the spring, summer, and training camp to see if he can make the team that way. But not in August or not on, right before
especially
week 1.
Let me make this point too. Malik has talked so much about struggling. The first conversation I had with Malik during training camp was about how he feels differently, and then he would how he feels different or how he's improved. And he said, well, you guys haven't gotten to see much, and I've been in 3 offenses in 3 years, and everything keeps changing. I think Malik is best served developing behind a coach like Brian Callahan, getting comfortable with the new thing, and then maybe he develops enough to be a serviceable backup and a guy that you can trust as your number 2. What about Malik Willis that we've seen in his NFL career so far gives anybody confidence that he picks it up, goes to Baltimore, and gets the new offense that looks wildly different from the one that he's been learning in Tennessee?
His 4th offense.
Mike Vrabel literally pounded the table. Throw the ball, don't run the ball. The Baltimore Ravens quarterbacks are all about run the ball, don't throw the ball. And Malik is supposed to go there, pick it up like that, and have the new concepts down and, be a contributor. I don't see that for him. And I haven't seen enough in his career thus far to make me believe he can be that guy. So
I think
for that reason,
honestly, and this is I think Malik Willis is a good person. I think he's a good person to have in the locker room. I think he's doing everything he can. Malik Willis is not at fault here. I think there's a lot of people that have maybe robbed or shorted Malik Willis in his football career up until this point, namely Hugh Freeze, who won a lot of games and got a job at Auburn because of Malik Willis as the head coach there, but didn't help Malik in the NFL. I think it would be better off for Malik Willis to go play football in another league so he can play, right? Guy needs reps. Guy needs to play. He's not going to get those reps or that opportunity in the NFL, because the other argument, and I heard Will Bowling say this morning on the Zone, of if the Titans are in the middle of the season, let's say it's November post trade deadline, and Will Levis is banged up and they cut Malik Willis, and Mason Rudolph is right. Like, they're going to go sign somebody else that has experience like they did 2 years ago with Josh Dobbs instead of Malik Willis, because they want to win right now. They want to, and they don't want to allow Malik to develop in live time because their jobs are on the line. Just like Mike Vrabel made the decision 2 years ago with Dobbs because the playoffs were on the line. So Malik needs to go play in the Canadian Football League, the USFXL, whatever it's called. Like, go play. Play the Nashville Cats, man. Sign them up. Go play.
Yeah, maybe not. All right, that's a little
honestly, that's a tiny field. Maybe that will help him improve his timing. Ask Kurt Warner about that. But I think Malik Willis just needs to go play.
Yeah.
He
needs to play football somewhere. And whether it's consistently on a practice squad in one team where he can develop with that team and then, work his way up to a backup quarterback job eventually, or it's just kind of getting on a football field. That's what he needs to do, not be a QB3 that sits on an active roster and rots. So.
All right, let's talk about maybe a position battle that's still wide open. I'll get to that one, which includes a.
Do you want to save this? Can we?
No, we have a super chat we have to get to. So I will.
We'll do the super chat.
We'll do the super chat. Maybe we'll save the other one because the super chat deals with a position battle that might still be open. But real quick, the Bone and Joint Institute, they can take care of you whenever an injury occurs in life. boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Go trust them. I've trusted them. Knee tendonitis, plantar fasciitis. I've had a bad shoulder at times. My doctor, Dr. Scott Arthur, who did my ACL reconstruction almost 15 years ago here in a couple months. That's where the Bone and Joint Institute is. They can take care of you in Franklin, right off I-65 and Highway 96. All the resources and the experts under one roof for your convenience. boneandjointtn.org to book an appointment.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM. Get up to $1,500 back in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet misses, matching whatever your first wager amount is. The best way to do sports betting, NFL season right around the corner. NFL is my favorite sport, my favorite season to get with a sports book and do some sports betting. And BetMGM is the best sports book to do it with. You use the bonus code ATOZ Sports, place that wager amount, whatever it is, you get it back in the form of a bonus bet. 2 chances to win big. How can you beat that? The sportsbook born in Vegas, BetMGM.
Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only new customer offer. All promotions, total qualification, eligible requirements. First online room winning wager. Only rewards issued in double bonus bets that expire in 7 days. And for quality games, sport call Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789. Okay, Sam. I think I jinxed you. You lost your no-run first inning. Bet on Friday. We have to bring it up when you go on a 5-game heater. You mention it when you snap it. You mention it. Maybe we can start fresh this week and get back on the winning ways. All right, so we're gonna pocket our other topic of like position battles that are still open and out there because I think that's a really good thing we can do either tomorrow or later this week, whatever it may be. But we do have a super chat because the hero of the game Saturday night, Braden Narvinson, hitting a 59-yard field goal, the second longest in the stadium's history, 60-yard field goal made by Rob Baronis to win the game in a regular season bout against the Colts. I mean, I was at that game. It was unreal. Honestly, Rob had a lot of wind behind his back for that, but the moment of winning that game with like a minute left against Peyton Manning and the Colts was pretty legit right there for Rob Baronis. But Narvison had that night where he had a game winner from 46 and the 59-yarder there. So Kicking the King has a super chat saying the Titans chose Stonehouse over Kern a couple of years ago. What's the difference this year between Folk and Braden? It shouldn't be. If Braden shows out again, he's it. So I think this is a fair conversation to have. Brian Callahan said no threat to Nick Folt's job. Braden Narvison, hell of a day, right? Like, flu game too, sick, in bed, didn't think he'd be able to play, and went out there and had the game of his life. How do you feel about this conversation because of what happened 2 years ago with Stonehouse and Kern?
I think it makes sense to bring up I think as a fan, I understand why you would look at it, and like what you have seen from Braden Narvison is what he showed against the Seahawks, and you're like, oh, this guy's awesome. Like Nick Folk doesn't do this, which is true. I would say Braden Narvison has not been very good at all in practices.
Correct.
I think I've counted 6 doinks of like field goals less than like 45 yards in training camp thus far. The guy's got an accuracy issue. He's missed a lot of kicks, and Nick Folk is very reliable. Makes all of his kicks. So Nick Folk doesn't have as much range, but he missed 1 field goal last year. Like this guy is automatic. Mm-hmm. So you paid Nick Folk, you brought Nick Folk back in here. I don't have any sort of desire to replace Nick Folk with Braden Narvison. I think it was a great story. I think it was very good for Braden Narvison. I think Braden Narvison made a case to stay on the Titans practice squad and do kind of what the Titans did with Caleb Shudak, 1-2 years ago, whenever that was, when they had Shudak sitting on the practice squad behind Randy Bullock. And then Bullock, when he got hurt and struggled and it was not going well, Caleb Shudak was able to step off the practice squad and, fill in that role. And was just available for Tennessee. So I think like that there is a lot of value in that. The Titans did the same thing with Ty Zentner for a little bit. And now Ty Zentner is sitting here and waiting to see, does he need a punt in week 1? Like, is Ryan Stonehouse healthy or not? So maybe Braden Narvison is the younger option that you develop a little bit more, try and see if you can work on his accuracy, knowing he has a big leg, while Nick Folk passes 40 years old at some point during the season.
November. Yeah.
But there is a gap between these two guys. What is the difference between Stonehouse and Kern? Stonehouse was a better punter than Brett Kern in 2022 immediately. He was better.
I think because Kern's told the story of like the first time he heard and saw the ball come off of Stonehouse's foot, he was like, I'm in for one. Because it was just different, right? It was like somebody stepping up to the tee box and you're just like, wham! You're like, okay, gonna be a long round. But like Stonehouse had to work on the nuances of punting that Brett Kern had. If you want to go baseball, you might like this. Brett Kern's Greg Maddux, where Ryan Stonehouse, it was John Rocker, right? Very different pitchers, but they serve their purpose. John Rocker never developed into a Hall of Famer like Greg Maddux or anything, but Ryan Stonehouse is developing and getting better at the nuances and not just throwing it 105 miles an hour. And he's also not an asshole on the streets of New York either, like John Rocker. So,
did he play Survivor like John Rocker?
Not to my knowledge.
John Rocker was Survivor. He was a Survivor contestant.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he was.
I had no idea. But I do think there's also a difference between the two positions, is the fact that your field goal kicker is in charge of putting points on the board. Not to diminish the punter, but I think it's riskier to go with an unproven field goal kicker than an unproven punter.
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely. Like the nuances of punting costs you 10 yards on a kick. It's like, oh, you didn't get enough hang time. And the guy was able to. It could be
Trevor Daniel and he gets 2 punts blocked on Thursday Night Football against the Colts and you have no chance to win because
right. But I mean, like I'm saying the nuances of punting, like Stonehouse, like you said, right? We knew he had this big leg. If he lands the ball at the 10 and it goes out of bounds, that's great. If he kicks the ball out the back of the end zone, they get the ball at the 20. Yeah. And you still got just as good of a shot to win the game, right? The nuances of kicking field goals and the inaccuracy that Braden Narvison has shown, not just in camp, but by the way, in college, he wasn't an accurate kicker in college. He was less than 75%, I want to say, in college.
Yeah.
There's really just not there's a big difference there. And then I do want to point out this from Daniel. I think this is a great point for everybody coming at Nick Folk's range. Does he have 59 in the tank? No, but he was 5 of 6 from 50 plus last year. Like he got the job done from 50 plus. Nick Folk certainly found the fountain of youth in that way. So Yeah,
but is he this year? What's the difference in being 38 turning 39 and 39 turning 40? I don't know. I'm not there yet.
Nick Folk was perfect from 40 to 49. He was 5 of 6 from 50 plus, a long of 54. I'm good with that, man. Yeah. I would much rather have a kicker that makes all of his kicks between 40 and 49 than a guy who can boot the occasional 60-yarder but can't figure out his chip shot, right? If you're a golfer, you'd rather have your short game down than one guy who can drive it a mile but doesn't know where it's going.
Bingo. I'm with you on that. All right. So look, but a good conversation and kick it to the king. I appreciate the super chat to let us have it, because that's definitely a topic that we needed to hit on today. Okay, though, it is now the age game, and I do have an updated age game graphic with all the new and repeat winners without my name on it. But before we get to the age game on this Monday, shout out to Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Say hey to Payne Bone for us while you're there. Here we are, Sam. The fully updated. Oh, that's not it. Pardon me. That is not the updated one. Here is the updated one that's got Jack and Sam on there. Titans Kyle ×3. We got a couple other ×2 winners up there and some new names to add to it. So a busy age game graphic without me. So I'm going to try to get on there today. My chat is hidden. Bring it on, Sam.
All right. 1 second here.
And do not make it John Rocker.
I will not make it John Rocker. All right. No, I did. I don't know. I was trying to think of where to go celebrity wise. I'm like, I feel like we do a lot of actors and actresses a lot of the time. We do some people related to sports a decent amount of the time. And so I wanted to find something different. So then I was like, all right, let's go music.
Great.
And then I was trying to find somebody that is taking the world by storm and is at the top of the music game. Maybe not number one in the world, but has a song that is number one in the world. And oh, by the way, is friends with Titans wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, because DeAndre Hopkins was featured in the music video with artist Shabuzi. So, Austin, Drink Don't Need No Mix, a bar song. How old is Shabuzi?
I don't know.
Would you like me to pick a different one?
I have zero shot at this. Zero shot. I would say Shabuzi's probably under 35. Outside of that, I have no idea.
All right, I'll give you a hint. He is the same age as fellow country star Post Malone.
Okay. That maybe helps, but honestly, I don't think it does. Because Post Malone has so many things on his face that deter me from reading his age.
Fair.
Permanent or can be shaven off. 31.
31. Okay. All right. Let's go to the chat. Let's see what the chat is thinking here. So we've got a quick Rico Suave answer of 39, which is incorrect. Although looks like he was spamming numbers, so was all over the place there.
That's an approach.
Lucas says 22, which is incorrect. Mark D says 34, which is incorrect. Rico comes back in with another spam of 33, incorrect. Alex 35, wrong. 37, wrong. 34, wrong. 45 is wrong. 34 is wrong. 39 is wrong. 32 is wrong. 28 is wrong. 35 is wrong. Braden Mitchell Wall, 31 is wrong.
Yeah, you get my hopes up, man.
Yeah, I did. I actually, first comment, nailed it yet again. Anthony Malley came in at 29. Curtis had it too. Andrew Brown had it. Bryce had it. Rico eventually got there after firing off 11 guesses. Denise got it, but it was, in fact, 29 years old. And Anthony Malley with the correct answer. So is Anthony on our... No. Oh, yes, he is 2. So we have another 3-time, Austin.
No.
Another 3-timer.
I hate this game so much.
Oh no.
All right, here's what we have to do here. We have to count this up now. We have to see I'm 0 for what? Because
to be fair, you haven't played on all of these.
I mean, I might have missed like 3. So I'll count them up afterwards because it's already 9:24. We got stuff to do, and I don't want to count on the show. It's not how we don't do Mike Francesa radio.
That is
on
bad.
A to Z
That's Mike.
Sports.
That is Francesa
Yeah,
radio.
yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, but damn it. All right, I'll text Zach again. Anthony Malley gets his 3x on this, and Orlando says this has been going on since March. No, buddy, we are I think we're at a full year, or we might be approaching a full year.
I mean, it's a lot of weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
every one of those is a full week. That's a lot of weeks.
All right. Let's see. Dean says, what's the practice schedule this week? Right. Wednesday, Thursday practices. Don't know the times yet. Hopefully,
we'll have Titans assistant coaches tomorrow. So some good content there. Usually this coaching staff has been very forthcoming with information. So usually we learn a lot from those, interviews that I'll have with the Titans coaching staff, and then practice Wednesday and Thursday. Nothing Friday, nothing Saturday, and the preseason finale on Sunday afternoon.
All right, guys, that's it for us. A failure on the age game for me. Shout out Anthony Malley 3 times. But a big show today, talking a lot of Titans position battles. We'll have more of it tomorrow. Make sure you hit that like button before you head out of here. Subscribe to our channel as well. Sam and Buck did a breakdown after the game Saturday night. It's also up there on the YouTube channel. If you haven't seen that yet, go check out Sam and Buck. And also sign up for the DeAndre Hopkins football camp. The link is pinned to our Twitter account, ATOZ20 for 20% off of that. We'll catch you guys tomorrow on a Tuesday. Buck Rising live tonight at 7. Appreciate it as always.